A 3-day cruise and a 7-day cruise might visit the same ocean, but they can feel like completely different vacations. People often book short cruises as a test run, myself included, but end up testing the wrong experience. Today we're going to break down how the cruise length will actually change the crowd, the schedule, and even the atmosphere on board. My name is Shane with MapBound, and welcome to my channel. Now, how long do you prefer a cruise to be and why? Leave a comment below. One of the big things about cruise length is it does determine the kind of passengers on board. Short cruises, usually around 2 to 4 days, they generally cater towards more of a party crowd that are celebrating. One thing that short cruises tend to have is a lot more weekend travelers looking for just a quick getaway, as well as a lot of short cruises can be good for birthday celebrations or bridal showers. And another thing to think about is a lot of times short cruises will have a higher social energy. And lastly, a lot of times people pick a short cruise as their first test cruise. Not gonna lie, the first cruise I went on was a test cruise. I enjoyed it and I have loved cruising ever since. But if my personality wasn't as flexible as it is, I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as I did. Now, a lot of times short cruises can also be last minute, whereas 7-day cruises tend to be more of a planned out vacation. The longer cruises are also going to tend to have more experienced cruisers on them, as well as a lot more families. Then when it comes to the pacing of a 7-day cruise, it's more of a routine, relaxed feel. The big thing to remember is the ship really didn't change from a short cruise to a long cruise, but the usual passengers did. So when it comes to the atmosphere of a short cruise, they usually feel like they're more rushed or fast paced. A lot of times the schedules can feel like they're more packed in. And with the shorter cruises being more for weekend crowds or celebrations, a lot of times you're going to find you have a lot more late night. But with that being said, yes, a lot of fun could be happening, but keep in mind that means that the noise level on a shorter cruise may be a lot higher. Now, I've done a lot of mini trips in my life, and I have to say, especially in my younger years, I get packing in a lot of stuff in a very short period of time. And this is one of the things that happens to me a lot when it comes to a short vacation is I'm constantly focused on maximizing every hour on that trip. Now, with the 7-day cruise, you're gonna have a little more slower rhythm or relaxed pace, but with the 7-day cruise, it's a lot easier to build a routine, whereas short cruises, generally you don't have enough time to get that routine built in. Also, I have found on 7-day cruises that there's a lot more time for relaxation, especially during the daytime hours, but for some people, it can also mean quieter evenings, especially when it comes around day 3. And lastly, the vacation mindset of a longer cruise is that you're actually living there temporarily. And something that a lot of people don't think about is how the crew can operate differently on a short cruise than a long cruise. With short sailings, you're going to notice there's a lot more announcements, especially since a lot more things are packed in such a small time frame. And with everybody trying to compress in everything, a lot of the activities you'll find seem rushed. Then when it comes to your dining experience, a lot of times on a shorter cruise, it may feel a little more rushed than it would be on a 7-day cruise. Some of the things the crews do better on a longer cruise would be a more personalized guest service. For instance, a lot of times they'll remember your name, or they may know the drink that you want before you even get to the bar or order, and easier to anticipate your needs. Also, because activities are packed in as well as they don't feel as rushed, then you feel a lot less pressure on having to always do something at all times. When it comes to meeting new people, time also allows you to build more relationships. Of course, if that's what you want to do. Now, at the port, experiences can also be a lot more different with a short cruise compared to a long cruise. With a short cruise, you're going to find it has more popular and nearby destinations, but the time at the port may also be shorter. And because of this, because traffic is moving a lot more often, you feel like there's a lot higher traffic whenever you're going to events. But for a 7-day cruise, you find that there's a lot more variety when it comes to your ports, and a lot of times you'll be at that port longer too as well. As well as since you have more time, you could also see that there might be more spacing in between port destinations. What I have found is shorter cruises sample destinations, whereas long cruises gives you more time to experience them. Now, a little bit more onto the test cruise myth, which is basically take a short cruise to see if you like cruising. The problem with this approach is you're really only testing the party-paced version of a cruise, which in turn makes it that some people will end up swearing off cruising altogether because they ended up wanting to be on a more relaxed cruise. So they really didn't match their personality type with the cruise line, which in turn brings up the question, which is better, short cruises or long cruises? In my opinion, none of them are universally better than the other. You just need to research what you prefer doing while you're on the ship. So if you want energy and quick escapes, short cruises is probably what you're looking for, whereas 7-day cruises are more for deep focus and relaxation. So definitely don't judge the entire cruise industry on just a short cruise or just a long cruise. To me, that would be a huge mistake. But then it comes down to also price. Short cruises a lot of times will look a lot cheaper on paper, as well as short cruises tend to have fewer included value days, like shows, food variety, and sea days. And this tends to make people spend more because everything's packed in just a few days. But in all actuality, you're actually paying more per day. Now, with it being a lower total price and not just a lower cost per day. For instance, when it comes to the price, it's going to be a higher overall total price, but your price per day may be lower. Then with the longer cruises, you also find you have more time to enjoy everything, especially what you already paid for. And a lot of people find it's a better value when it comes to dining, entertainment, and ship amenities. So this in turn usually makes a lot of people surprised because they look more at the total price and not the daily value. Short cruises look like a deal on paper until you actually break it down. So keep in mind that short cruises may save you money up front, longer cruises are going to give you more value on the dollar. In closing, cruise length does change the personality of the trip. Short doesn't represent long, but long doesn't also represent short. So always try to choose based on the experience you want and not the time that you have. Now there's quite a few websites that I use when it comes to booking cruises, but one of the ones that I use a lot is Cruise Plum. I'm not affiliated with Cruise Plum, but I use them quite often, so I thought I should mention it. The great thing about Cruise Plum is not only can you find hot deals, you can also find last minute deals, and it even breaks it down in a price per day for you, so you can help understand the value of the cruise you're about to purchase. Again, I'm not affiliated with it, but it's something I recommend. I use it all the time when it comes to booking cruises. My name is Shane with MapBound. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Facebook. Also check out my free cruise checklist and my cruise recommended products in the description. And remember, travel is life.